This is what we did for the engineering design cycle. The first thing we did is ask ourselves, what is a solar still? And then we looked at all the constraints on the PDF that was in Moodle. Oh, I didn't see you there. Let me tell you about our research. So we researched the solar still and the best methods to purify water. We made sure that it was cost effective and that it was the most efficient solar still we could find. Let's put on our thinking caps and imagine what our solar still would look like. Then we had to plan it out. We had to plan out this solar still. Come along. We had to go on a trip and we had to get our materials. And then we figured out how we were going to build it. After lots of planning, it was finally time to create it. So we built a lot of things, and finally we had our first prototype. It was our very first solar still. Oh, let me fill you in on what happened next. So we tested this prototype. We didn't get much water, but then we figured out how we could improve. After testing it, we figured out that we had to improve. So then we put a bigger tray on the outside, and that allowed for more water collection. Then we took it to FEDD.
Here we are, filling up the trough for our solar still.
Important work. Someone has to do it. Oh god, it's really wobbly. My balance is not great.
What challenges did we face during this project?
Well, we faced a major design challenge with designing the purified water catch system. We weren't sure if we wanted to use kind of like a more, I would say, practical design in which like used for more actual use, or we wanted to gear it more towards the project. We were originally going to use some sort of tubing system that was going to attach to a larger containment area, and then we decided to use just a kind of aluminum like metal pan attached on the side, kind of like a catch system, so it would drip off our acrylic sheets on the solar still into the purified water container. Another big problem we had was with the cutting the acrylic sheets and gluing them. We originally tried to snap them with an X-Acto knife, but it wasn't very exact. It didn't really go along with the name. So we decided to use a bandsaw to cut the acrylic to proper lengths to make it look more flush and smooth. We originally used silicone glue to glue the acrylic, but it didn't set very quickly. So even though we clamped it together and set it over several nights, it didn't set well and didn't work. So we decided to use a faster setting glue, such as super glue, and then come back with acrylic glue to keep it watertight.
Harry, tell me about how we did at FEDD.
Well, at the official testing, a couple days before FEDD, we only produced 4 milliliters of water, and unfortunately it did not all reach our containment unit. We placed our heat lamp near the front of our still, so it happens that front pane of acrylic kind of heated up too much. The water was able to condense there and run down. On the back and side panes of acrylic, however, it was cool enough for the water vapor to condense and then run down the sides, so we still did produce water, it just did not make it to our containment unit. At FEDD, we actually tied for first because it seemed that everyone produced about similar amounts of water, around 5 milliliters, and the judges were kind of excited about our design. It was pretty creative. We had a floating still, unlike any of the other stills, and we had a really portable still. It was really easy to carry around. It only weighed like 4 or 5 pounds or something like that. So overall, it seemed that we did really well at FEDD.
Wallace, what can we do differently?
I would think that first off we need to redesign the catch system. I had said we decided against the tubing system and for the drip pan. Well, it was a bust to go with the just drip pan because as it would attach to the foam, the water was just going to leak right back into the foam. And then we tried to counteract that with another tinfoil piece and then kind of duct taping the area, but there was leaks and it was just not a viable way of collecting the water. So I would say we need to go back to a tubing design that would be more useful for longer periods of the solar still, and not just a 2.5 hour window. I also think that we needed to design the actual drip system differently. Most of the water ended up just running down the sides of our still or down the back. Which comes to another point, which I think we need to reposition the light. We put the light at the front of the still and we needed to be at the back so it would better condense on the part of the still that needed to flow down. But we needed to angle the acrylic pieces so that they would better position the water down to our catch system, or put a larger catch system around the entire still. I also feel that we needed to, on the actual design day, we needed to better prepare with bringing water. They didn't have as much water as we needed because our design actually floated on top of water instead of having water put in. So I would either say we need to bring water beforehand or have a better method of getting that water, because I ended up having to walk down to Lake Raleigh and carry up this flimsy plastic container of water that took far too long and far less efficient than it should have been. Also, I thought our main design, we used a cotton as our wicking fabric, but I don't feel that it wicked as properly as it should have. And so I feel like that a better wicking fabric would produce better results for our still.
Hey freshmen, here's some advice before you start your FEDD project. So first, make sure you create a timeline, that way you know exactly when your deadlines are and you're very organized about it. Then, be open to new ideas, because there's no right or wrong way to approach your project, and only through new ideas will you see what works and what doesn't work. Finally, make sure to research previous models done on your project, that way you can see what has worked in other projects and what hasn't worked, that way you don't either repeat the same mistakes or you try something that's already been done. And finally, make sure you have fun, because you'll be spending the next few months with these people, so make sure to make the best of it.